Thelma the Unicorn is a 2024 animated film. This is directed by Gerald, Hess and Lynn Wang. And it's okay. I think it has some really lovely messages in it, and the animation is really beautiful. And the characters are not too bad. This is about a horse, actually, not a unicorn, called Thelma. And she wants to be successful. She's in a band, but things are not necessarily going her way. And I won't say the exact scenario where this happens, but to cut a long story short, she has a carrot on her head and something happens that means she gets covered in glitter, this pink glitter, absolutely gorgeous. And because the carrot is now covered in glitter as well, people think that she's a unicorn. And she ends up having this music career, but she's pretending to be somebody she isn't. And along the way, there are other parts of her life that begin to fall apart, and there are issues with friendship. And it's basically addressing, you can have this fame and success, but at what cost? And is it worth pretending to be somebody you're not? And I won't say what happens with the narrative or how these messages come about, but I think that that's a really important topic. And not just with fame, if somebody's obviously pretending to be somebody else or faking their personality for fame. We see obviously a lot of this with social media, but in any kind of situation, pretending to be somebody you're not is rarely going to be a good thing, especially if it costs you some pretty important things. So the messages in this are brilliant. I think they're very clear, they're very well delivered, and I think Thelma is generally a pretty likable character. There are times when she has some maybe unlikable personality traits, but not to the point where I didn't like her as such, but more just so she's not perfect, put it that way. And I think that makes her more realistic and more believable, and I think it actually makes it a more pleasant journey because I believed her responses to things. I completely believed her motivation, and I think there will be an element of relatability for anybody who is striving for a particular career or a particular goal, and we see Thelma reaching her dreams, but at what cost? And I'll say no more than that about the specifics of the narrative, but I did find it to be a pretty enjoyable narrative. Everything flowed really well, everything moved in the right direction, and we have some pretty good characters as well. So all things considered, I can't really complain. And ultimately, it's a fun little story. If you like animations and you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. It's absolutely not what I expected, based purely on the title. I thought it was a film about a unicorn, and actually it's a really beautiful story in a lot of ways, and that's not to say it's the best film I've ever seen. There are times when the narrative is maybe not as compelling as I would have liked it to have been, but at the same time, it ticks all of the right boxes, and I don't really have any complaints. If it sounds like your kind of film, if you're looking for a fun animation with some pretty decent characters and a really nice animation style, then I'd say Thelma the Unicorn is definitely one that's worth checking out.